For all those present, Luciane Rebello Galuppo is a partner sales executive at Microsoft, where she has built an extraordinary career spanning nearly 3 decades. Since joining the company in 1996, she has held leadership roles across sales, marketing, and partner strategy, with a focus on driving customer success throughout the US and Latin America. Known for her collaborative spirit and strategic vision, Luciane is also a 5-time half marathon finisher, a proud mother of 2, and fluent in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. Please join me in welcoming Luciane Galuppo.
Thank you. Yeah. So thanks, pleasure presenting to you all. I mean, most of my career has been in education because I think it always mattered to me into how education kind of changes a lot, someone's life, family, even at a city and state and a country level. So very glad. Unfortunately, I couldn't be in person. I'm actually in Rio de Janeiro right now. I live in Seattle, but I have a big wedding from one of my best friends tonight. So I'm not even home, but I'm glad to be presenting to you all. The idea that Mateus, and thanks Mateus for the invitation, is to talk a little bit about my career, things I believe I did right, things that eventually I didn't see it coming, and we can never change it, but we can learn from that. As Mateus said it, I have been at Microsoft 29 years, and that wasn't planned. My dad stayed in General Motors for like 25 to 30 years. And when I was in my college years, I was like, I'm never staying that long in the same company. And those are the things that you don't plan. So the idea today is to talk a little bit about my personal journey. How is my daily routine? And a little bit on the IT market, things that I believe that are not trendy, but like what happens in the industry. In the case, I know for the few that you guys are specializing in study, it is a big opportunity for you all. We will have, right, Mateus, I think we'll have questions at the end. I don't mind if you have questions as I go and present, so feel free to stop me and ask him, most if it is a clarification question that is better to address immediately than waited until the end. So a little bit on my personal journey. I studied in Brazil. I moved to the US when I was 30. I have always been a really good student, even though, like I put it, like I was always an A and B student. But in Brazil, once you qualify and you pass, I always did the most stupid thing that I was super proud that on the last trimester, if I had already passed, I would just go with the D. Like I was like, I don't need the grade. Like, so it was like things that you do when you're like 15, 16, 17 years old. My mom wanted to kill me because my mom, she was a history teacher, and she was actually my teacher for history in 7th and 8th grade, which was funny because she knew everyone in my classmates, everyone that was in my house. So she was my teacher for 2 years. As I said it, so my mom hated my kind of, I don't need the grades. I would return the test, like empty, blank, like not responded. I did it, there's a few times. And my dad worked at General Motors. He's in engineering for a good 25, 26 years. As I mentioned, I have been at Microsoft 29 years, so 28 years as a full-time employee. And then the first year I was a trainee while I was at university. So for official records, that first year doesn't count. As Matteo mentioned, most of my career I have had at sales roles, channel development. I had 3 years in retail, which was very nice because it was the year that Microsoft released the first Xbox. So it was really nice that everyone wanted to talk to me, and it was like a cool product. So it was quite nice there. I spent 7 years in Brazil, 12 years in Florida, and that's where the Latin America headquarters is. And I have been in the Washington State, where the main headquarters for the company is for the last 9 years. I think that helped me continue with the company because the changing geographies and changing my area of responsibility, it kind of helps because it can be not super nice and it can be boring sometimes staying that long in the same company to what you can develop yourself. But I think the changing geographies, it became very interesting. And what has happened in the IT industry, like Microsoft today, has nothing to do with Microsoft from before cloud and AI 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and has nothing to do with the company that I started to work with. So I thought about, everyone always asked me, like, you never thought about leaving? I did thought, like, seriously, like 3 times that I was like, I'll move, I'll change industry or I'll change company. I need something new and fresh. And the timing never worked well. Like at the end, something happened and they offered me a new position. And then I was like, okay. And so at the end of the day, every time I seriously thought about, doing something different or working for a different company, the timing didn't work and whatever I wanted to do differently in Microsoft ended up coming my way, and then I stayed. As I said, I was born and raised in Brazil, been in the US 20 years, which means that both of my kids, Rafa is now 17, Andrea is 15. They were born in Florida at the time we were living in Coral Springs. So both of them Florida born. Now we live in a small town called Woodinville. It's a good 35, 40 minutes from Seattle. And my education background, I attended business in Fundação Getúlio Vargas in Brazil. I think now is the second best business school in Brazil. At the time, it was the best business school. So I was fortunately enough to, my mom being a history teacher, it meant that I went to private school without paying because she was a teacher and the kids could. So I was fortunate that I could go to a really good school at no cost. And then a few years later, I did my MBA in marketing and finance, which it is completely different. Like I remember what I learned mostly from marketing, it is completely different today. So I think that's one big difference into how the industry has become so dynamic that we need to be always open and learning because things are in a lot of fields are done in a very different way than it was when I learned some of the big, the 4 Ps for marketing, and a lot of those things are very different how it's being done, and the velocity that we get information back, and you have the ability to change or stay, but you know exactly what's working and not working. I think some of my values, and I think this is really important as you develop yourself as individuals, the more you can align your career to that, the better. There's no right and wrong because some individuals can handle things differently and that they are suited or better suited for some positions. And then for others, it's different. So for me, values is important. Like I want to make sure that I can go to sleep at night and kind of feel that mostly I haven't done anything incorrectly. Some people can deal with this better. I can't. Like if it doesn't make sense, I can't. Like it kind of hurts me a lot. So it's not a good environment for me. I really very close to my family, my friends, and the loved ones. I think at the end of the day, that's why I work. To be able to be here in Rio for my best friend's wedding, like I could come from a job perspective, from a cost. So I like being close, and I think it's having that combination of family, friends, and loved ones throughout her life. It's super important because it's not always easy, either because of job or relationships, or someone gets sick, or you move to a different country and then it's not exactly how you think. Like having that stability, it's super, super good because you can always talk and be honest and get an opinion from others that care about you. So for me, I have always had that strong network. I have the boys, and I have a border collie called Nina. So I have always been very passionate about pets and animals in general. Um, Love it. I think, they just bring joy to your life. So that for me is something that I always liked it. It is a good and bad thing, but I'm always helping others and I forget about myself, but I'm always helping others. I like it, makes me feel good. On the other hand, it kind of sometimes I feel that I forget about myself, but I'm always, you know, even when I come to Brazil, I'm always like bringing in things that people are like, oh, can you bring this from the US or can you? So I'm always doing that. And that reflects at my work style because I'm very collaborative. Exercise has always been a constant in my life. I love it. Sometimes I do more, sometimes I do a little bit less, but I think mostly as you get older, like it kind of helps, your posture, my sleeping is not good, but it helps. So I think if I did an exercise, it would be even worse. So I think the more you can add it, the better. I think I saw from someone I follow, it was quite nice because it was, I will find the name because it's someone kind of not important, but not this important, sorry. It's someone well known in terms of coaching and mentoring. And he said that constant and the doing things constantly daily, it is the best medicine for everything. And then his methodology was 30 minutes exercise, 20 minutes reading, and 10 minutes practicing gratitude. And it has to be every day, he said it. So I'm trying. The exercise and the reading, I do well. The 10 minutes praying, meditation, and gratitude, that's the one I struggle. But the exercise, I think, is a great thing to always accompany you. I love it. My kids don't like it, don't do it. So I'm trying to push them to like just go around the block and walk. But yeah, as I think for me, it has always been something good. I love reading. I love a good book. I'm always carrying books. I read in paper. I can't read digital, so I'm always carrying two different books at the same time. So um, it kind of for me, it's like one of the best things that um, I want to spend my time. And I really love everything related to culture and travel. I don't know if it's the influence of my mom being a history teacher. There has always been a lot of conversations in our house and growing up. And as a family, we are all big on traveling. Like, it's always someone traveling someplace or planning a trip and learning, when you get there, what to do. So those are the things that are big on my life. Then I put in what I'm not good at it, and funny enough, kind of the list is short, right? It's so hard for us to kind of realize what we are not good at it. I think for me, a big one is asking for help. I'm not good. I continue doing and doing and doing until one point that I kind of can explode it, but I don't ask for help. Not right. For me as well, and could have been a bit cultural, could be being a woman, I don't know, but I was never good in setting up a case for being promoted. I always expect this to happen, and it has happened, but I know that if I had put that as a topic of conversation and push it, my career would have advanced it more. And I can't do it, at least nowadays. I can say it, like I'm not good. I don't like writing up an email and say, I did this and I did that, and look at this and look at my results. Like I do for others, but I can't do it for myself. But at least now I address, all my managers know it, that it's hard for Luciane to do it. So sometimes they come and push it, and I do it. It hasn't been the easiest thing for me. And one of the I believe her name is Sarah Wu, and she works as a high-profile mentor for C-level executives. So she mentors 2 executives from my skip level. There are 2 levels down from Satya Nadella. So, you know, I think that for the 2 that she's mentoring, that Sarah will, they have about 5,000 employees reporting to them at Microsoft. So they lead a big organization. And we were on a sales conference in Las Vegas, October last year. And she was presenting some of the beliefs that she had, and she doesn't separate for the individuals that she coaches the personal level to the professional level. She said everything is connected. You know, the happier you are in your personal life, that reflects in your job. The other way is as well. And I usually get bored at some of presentations. Like if it's not really interest, I kind of start thinking about something else. And one of the aspects that she presented, and she talked to us about it, and I was like, wow, I started to practice, not always because I can't, but and then she talked about this concept of being present, which is, until then, I was like, I remember one of the questions that she asked at the beginning, she was like, who multitasks? And Luciane was like, who is really good at multitasking? And like literally like 70% of the team, we had about 2,000 individuals in Vegas, like 70% were like very proud of multitasking. And then she set up a case that is not effective. And she convinced me, because I was like, and then on the opposite, she was talking about this being present. And, you know, if you're taking your coffee, like take your coffee, leave your phone, like enjoy the coffee, see what you're having, see, like taste it. So being present, and things that, let me get the coffee now. So one thing that I got back home, and it was like, let me try to, if I'm walking the dog, I'm not walking the dog and being on a meeting, because that I did it almost daily. If I go around the block with my dog, it's a 30-minute walk, like in Washington. There are no cars, no safety thing, like all safe, all good. And I was always going for a walk with Nina on a call. I was like, okay, I'm killing 2 birds with the same stone. I'm walking her and I'm attending a meeting, mostly when I didn't have it to present. I was just listening mode. And I stopped doing that, because I'm like, if I'm walking her, I'm talking to her, I'm seeing what's happening. Things that I also did it. And I told my kids, I was like, I will try to be present, and you try to be present. And things that I always did, also like as a legacy from the pandemic, right? That everyone was crazy in the house, homeschooling. Everyone had different times of, even my kids didn't have classes at the same time. I had very early meetings, my then husband had late. So it was a mess. Like everyone was eating breakfast and lunch at, even dinner sometimes at a very different time. And for me, it was common that, and I continued doing until September, October, that I would get my computer. Sometimes the kids wanted to eat earlier dinner, and I was like, I'm not hungry because I work from home and I had late lunch. So I would sit with them and say, hey, I'm not having dinner with you guys. I'll eat something later, but I'll sit with you. But I will sit with them with my computer. And in my mind, it was like, I want for them to see that I was working. Right, you know, I'm working, I'm doing this, and sometimes I would show what I'm doing. And I stopped doing it. I was like, if I am being present with them, I will not, if I have to work, I'll work from the office, I'll get food for them and say, hey, get food, serve yourself and eat it. So a lot of those things I'm trying to, and it makes a big difference. Like if you're talking to someone, you're truly talking, or just not there, you know, body present and your mind is doing something else. It is a bit exhausted, and I can't do it all the time, but I'm trying to be way more conscious of being present. with my kids, with family, at work, in a meeting. Mostly because I can easily deviate attention if the topic, either I have exhausted, like I got what I want from this meeting, and I understood what it is, and there is another 20 minutes. I go and think about something else, and I'm trying to be present, like either learn more, ask more questions. And this was one of the, I think from last year, it was the nicest concept that I have learned that truly for me impacted. And I remember that when we got back from Vegas, we all flew back to our own countries and states. One of my teammates, he said it was so different, because he said his wife was like, "You are so different from Vegas. Like, I'm talking and you're paying attention to what I'm saying." And he said it was so nice, because it was like I love her, but I was like, I felt that sometimes I was just there sitting and not even watching TV together, because I was not paying attention to the TV. I was just thinking about something else. So it was something that it really impacted, and I really would suggest to try, because it is nice when people notice that you are being present. Okay, so now changing topics, a little bit of how my daily routine works. I have a really good friend here in Brazil that he was always like presenting to sales development. So I always hired his company for big events and presentations. And he always said that IT is like medicine. Like, it's very different being a dermatologist than being a brain surgery in the ER. The routine is different. The mentality, like one that fits one position, has nothing to do. And that he always said it, like, you don't want a pilot that you were, landing in Miami, and the pilot goes and say, "Hey, we have started our descent, and today I thought about it, and I will do something creative in landing in Miami." You just don't want it. Like, you're a pilot, you don't be creative, you follow exactly the procedure. So IT is very different into positions that fits everyone, but they are very different. So understanding the daily and the specifics, it kind of helps you understand. And this is valid for a lot of the other industries, like really spending time in understanding what do you do, like what time do you wake up? Do you work in a big environment, in a small environment? I'm always with tons of necklace and earrings. And then my oldest wants to go to medical school. And I don't know why we were talking, and he was like, "Mom, you could never be a doctor." And I said, "Why? Yeah, I would. Like, it is one thing that I thought about it." And then he's like, "You would spend an hour just removing all your jewelry to go to work, and then putting it back and removing again." It was like, "Yeah, you have a point." Like, it wouldn't fit. Like, it is a joke, a family joke internally, but it is some things that it needs to be, the more you can tie and the more we can find jobs and that fits our style, the better. I do have a very flexible schedule at Microsoft, which I love it. It works for me because I can go to the gym in the middle of the day. I can walk the dog. So, and I am, even being a flexible schedule, I get my stuff done and I do my work, and I don't need anyone controlling me. Starting to work at 8, going into 5, and there has to be that control. I have no control, but I get stuff done. So I'm very responsible with that. And for me, kind of has been very, very nice. I have been working from home for the last 20 years. Since I moved to the US, has always been mostly from home. I have always been close to the office, so I can go to the office, but my daily meetings are unlikely to be with someone at the office. So I always develop my working style, the working remote, way before the pandemic. And it is an ongoing learning Obviously, then I had the kids, so it became different into what I need to do. But then that flexibility, I truly like it. My personal view, and a lot of people ask, and I'm 50 years old, you guys are not even close to that. I think that we need to get back to the office, not every day, but we need to get back to the office. The in-person, my view, Luciane, I think that working remote, it works perfectly with Zoom, with Teams, with phones, and we don't need to be at the office to deliver what needs to be delivered. Where I think that being sometimes in person makes a difference because we end up working. In my case, I work with people I work with. So my team, we work together. Sometimes we need to access another team, then we access good. But then the overall bigger team are people that I don't meet because I don't need to. But then potentially my next career move could be with that team. So I think that being present, it's nice because you end up finding similarities. You end up finding that, I run, somebody else runs and wants some help. We play golf. So the in-person is just when you have that chitty chat conversation at coffee that for me is crucial for career growth. So I don't go to the office as often as I think I should because I start working and I'm like, oh, it's 1 p.m. I'm not driving. And I'm like, ah. So I'm forcing myself to show up more often. And just funny, true story. I was at the office like 6 or 8 months ago. I have been in the US 20 years. I have been in Seattle for almost 10. And then one of the senior directors said, look at me. And I was like, hey. And she asked some things like, and then she's like, is there a big meeting happening? Like, why are you here? And I'm like, no, I just decided to come to the office today. And then she was like, oh, you came all the way to Brazil, but you don't have meetings here? I was like, and then her general manager lives just like a mile from my house. And then he looked at it like, and then I said, Natalie, I live like a mile from Scott. And then she was shocked that I didn't live in Brazil. In her mind, I lived in Brazil. And I was like, no, I'm just like here, like anytime you want to, and we work somehow together. It was like, anytime you want to get my perspective or you're going to just get coffee so she had the idea that I lived in Brazil just because I don't show up too often to the office. That's the true thing. So I'm pushing myself to go more often because I think it's nice. I have always traveled a lot for business, a lot. I always liked it. It is hard because kind of you change time zone, you go out of your routine. Even like I like exercising from Seattle to Brazil or to Argentina or Chile is a 5-hour time difference. So like waking up in the morning gets harder. When I lived in Florida, it was a lot easier. Kind of changes, you eat differently. I always liked it. I always liked it, the feedback. Obviously, it has the other aspect that is, and I have 2 friends here and we rent an Airbnb. And then she was saying the same thing. She travels a lot and she's like, it's so hard because you kind of, you eat differently. You end up drinking something in the middle of the week because you go for a dinner. Just like I can't keep up with my trainings but I have always done that. For me, has always been very nice. I'm very, very grateful for my ex-husband because he was always very supportive. The only thing that he would say it was, go work as soon as you finish the meeting, get the first flight back home to help me because I did leave him for 4 or 5 days business trip with the boys when they were little. But then I felt extremely supportive with him being able to be with the kids. And he also works for Microsoft, so he also had a crazy schedule, but he didn't travel in his position. So I felt very supportive on that. Just Brazil, they was like, okay, Brazil, you can stay 1 day more to see your family, but then all the other trips, like first thing, like finish the meeting, rush to the airport, and he did ask me to leave food. Like I had to leave literally like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all frozen. So it kind of helped him, but I always felt very supportive. In terms of work style, and that's a big one, that there is no right and wrong, but I need to work with a team that is very collaborative. Like I am on vacation yesterday and today. I'm not a lot of things that needed to be solved. I have put someone else that is my peer to help me. So I'm not afraid that she will not help or she will try to steal my accounts, or like I need to work on that collaborative team. I hate when the team kind of one is fighting with another. And some people like it. I had a friend that was in financial business and he was like, I cannot take vacation because if I take vacation, my accounts will transition to someone else. For me, as an example, it's very hard to take on a team that I need to fire a lot of people and I know ahead of time. And some people, we need people for those roles. Like, you start in this position, you have 20 employees, you need to go down to 10. And some people are better doing that. That's why there's no right and wrong. I don't fit it. So I need to, and every time I moved into positions that the teams were not working together, for me was very hard. And my entire team has something nice that we created about 2 years ago that we call it a quiet Friday. So what means is that on Fridays, we don't have meetings unless some big thing has happened, right? And then it's an exception. So we don't have meetings. So Friday is to learning day or to catch up with, expense reports and some of the things that during the week you end up not doing. And I really like the Quiet Friday concept, or even half a day on Friday. For me, it works on Friday. For my team, it works on Friday. That you can kind of go back to the week and see things that you didn't do it, that you forgot it, and or kind of you're so busy. And then, so I like that as a planning because it feels that for me that when I go back to work on Monday, everything is organized and I know exactly what needs to be done. Because Friday I kind of could clean up the house a little bit. I have been using Copilot a lot on Mondays and saying, hey, what are my priorities, what I need to do? Even on Fridays is something that to organize my next week, I have been using Copilot for that. Like, what are my priority meetings for next week? Obviously on Monday I'm flying back home. But as soon as I am connected to Copilot, most likely my first question will be, what did I miss being on vacation Thursday and Friday? And it kind of summarizes, where do I go first, mostly because next week I'm flying during the day back to Seattle. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I have, which is a very different, no flexible schedule next week. I have to be at the office with another 20 companies that are all going around the world to Seattle from like 8 a.m. and dinner finishing at 10:30 p.m. So very different week next week. So I'm not working on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, just on Friday. So I know that on Friday, when I'm back to my daily normal life, there's a lot of things that I need to catch up. So I have been using Copilot a lot on that. It has been very, very helpful in help me plan on how to prioritize on my day or summarize meetings, because sometimes I feel that if you are on vacation and you still need to attend all the meetings that you missed, then you're back and you're working twice as hard. So I try to summarize it so I can go on a 3-week vacation and go back to work and not feel overwhelmed.
A 3-week vacation.
I have at Microsoft 5 weeks and 2 days.
Yeah, dang.
Yes, I love it. And for me, it's one of the big reasons why I would think twice about moving, because at this point, I want more vacation. I like traveling. So my family's in Brazil. So yeah, and sometimes I do take 3 weeks.
These people take 3 to 5 week vacations that work the degree that I'm going for.
Yeah.
Dad, I did that because I don't want to kill the grass. I'm trying to have the grass grow that way. What's that?
I'm gonna leave it there.
So yeah, I like the vacation policy at Microsoft. And the flexible schedule as well, because as a good example, in July, I'm here in Brazil and I'm bringing the kids, and I'm here for 3.5 weeks. And my deal with my team and my manager is that I will work half of the time, and half of the time I'll take time off. So it's good because then I can bring them here. I can work during the day, and then at night I can see my friends, see my family. I don't spend a lot of money on a ticket for a week and a half. The boys will be on vacation, so they can take their 3 weeks doing whatever they wanted. And I don't use a lot of my vacation days. So even this week in Rio, I did work Monday to Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday, I took it off. So that flexibility for me is good because I can be here for 10 days. I was in Brazil for 10 days. I was in Sao Paulo with my family, but I was working remote from my mom's house. So that for me works perfectly. When I come again in July, I'll probably work half of the time, and the other half will be officially on vacation. So that extends even my 5 weeks further, mostly coming to Brazil and working part of the time, and taking half of the time as a vacation. So going a little bit to the end. So when I see the IT industry, Microsoft, and obviously I have a lot of friends that are in the IT, in Google, SAP, AWS, Salesforce. It is a very dynamic industry. So a concept that always learning is key, because what it is, the big thing this year is not going to be in a year and a half. So new things come in. Now it's the whole thing about, AI, how to use AI, how it's impacting the job. So the mentality of always learning is crucial. I would take advantage. I do a mix of paid training, some that Microsoft funds, some that I do it, and I leverage a lot of the free trainings, symposiums, and talking to people. So always learning, it's a big, I think the whole market is going to go through a revolution with AI. And Brett Smith, that is the president, and he leads our philanthropy group. A few years ago, he was in Mexico, and he said that the revolution is, and then he had a picture from one of the big plazas in Mexico at the turn of the 18th to the 19th century with horses, big dresses, and then he took this, and he had the same picture of that year that was 5 years ago. It was right before the pandemic. And he said, that's the revolution, because 130 years ago, we had horses. We had people that had to clean the horses, to park the horses, to feed the horses. So this, when we had cars entering, it completely changed. Someone that knew how to ride a horse sometimes doesn't know how to drive a car. And then the whole infrastructure around it has to change it. And with AI, it's going to be like that. It's going to be a revolution that is going to impact every job in the market. And that's why a lot of what we talk at Microsoft is like, what are you bringing to the table? Because the use of AI, it can level everyone pretty close to the same level. Because as long as you prompt the same question and you tweak it a little bit, everyone has the same answer or pretty similar answers. So what are you bringing to the table that are differentiating your knowledge, your impact, to what everyone else has access to? So I think it's going to be a fun game, because it is really pushing us as individuals to, what is my differentiator if everyone has access to somehow the same level of information. And for me, the last one that I think is if you can, in all aspects of your life, do leverage individuals that are truly willing to coach and to mentor you. That makes a big difference into you moving your career, knowing a little bit more of the unknown. You move to a new company. I always say like it's an 3 sets, 5 sets of an hour interview for whoever is being interviewed to understand the position, the team, the manager, as the other way around. So having mentors inside the same industry or inside the same company and outside helps you understand a little bit better what you're going to face, what is truly there, because every job position is always the good thing, right? And it doesn't say the truly daily routine or the status of the team, that you're going to fire someone, or has the manager hired the other employees, or are they inherit from a previous manager that did the hiring. So people that are willing to coach and look at you as an individual and be honest and open into those are the opportunities. This is what you need to develop to go to this role, or this you have a strength, this you still have to develop. So that is really nice when it happens, and it's like the perfect marriage. I had mentors that kind of didn't have any impact, and I had mentors that were just like sometimes a short period. It was like really nice in being able to point areas that I could develop, or areas that I had a big strength that I wasn't articulating that well. So finding those are really, and it's like the perfect marriage. Like sometimes you look and you don't find it, and you have help from someone, and sometimes it's just like really perfect, the combination into the impact it has in your career. So with that, I think the last one I'll have it that has nothing to do exactly with what we're talking about, but Microsoft is celebrating its 50th anniversary on Monday. So I have tons of Microsoft friends. So it has been like really nice on LinkedIn, like everyone posting old pictures. Looks like on Friday, Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer were all on campus for whoever wanted to go. We have a big campus and infrastructure. And then on Monday, starting Monday the 8th and going until May the 28th, we have a lot of AI trainings. A lot of it is free. A lot of it, you have the option to pay and being more guided with a depth of hours. But there is a lot of things happening starting on Monday. I would look at it because it has technical content, it has business content, and it has one content that I don't think it would suit for you guys, but it is, we are calling student, but it is 12 to 7, like we are targeting 12 to 17 years old. But a lot happening is specifically on Monday the 8th, and then I make the invitation. We have put a challenge for us, Microsoft, that we are aiming to break the Guinness World Record for number of individuals being connected within the same 24 hours for a training. The current record is 46,000 for a government initiative in India. The goal that we have, that we believe we can do it on Monday, is a little over 110,000 people training on Monday. So if you want to, some of the content is 45 minutes, right? It's not like there are longer, but it's 45. So my invitation on Monday to take that 45 minutes for either one of the 3 options that we have it. There is the link for we are calling AI Skill Fest event. It starts in Australia at the beginning of the day and goes all the way, Europe, Africa, Americas, and ends in Seattle, I think at 6 p.m. Pacific, and it goes until midnight, right? But if we achieve what we wanted and you take the training on Monday, you can proudly say that you are Guinness record winner medal. I don't know how they call it, unless everything is digital. We will only know the Guinness Record Institution takes, I think, 2 to 3 weeks to validate all the numbers, so we won't know right away. We have a good sense. There are in-person events on Monday. I don't think we have it in Florida. I know we have in Chicago, Toronto, Seattle, São Paulo, and Mexico. But if you look into the page, you'll see there's a lot of it. Specifically Monday, it is the only day that we can break the record because you have to register. But we have a lot of activities happening until the end of May. And on a topic that I think is very valid to learn due to the changes that we are seeing in the market. And with that, Mateus, I will open for questions.
Okay, sounds good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Yeah, we have one question over here.
You mentioned, can you hear me from here?
Yes.
Perfect. You mentioned how important it is for you to be on collaborative teams. My question is, have you ever been on a team that didn't collaborate well? And what did you personally do to make it so that the team could collaborate better?
I have been on a team in the US that was not collaborative at all. Like we would fight for time. Like we had meetings with our managers. We were 7 individuals, and every meeting was a mess because it was always the same order, like, present this and I was always not the last, but I was always the 5th one to present. And then the first person had 20 minutes, and then 15, and then 10, and whoever came last was just like 5 minutes to present everything that you're doing. And then we start hating each other because we're like, oh, whoever goes first, don't take 20 minutes because then the rest of us don't have time. Like I remember Tisha was the last one. She never had time. So it was bad. And at the end, I changed. And it was one of the worst years that I had it in trying to move out of this group. And I think I carried the fact that I wasn't happy with the team. I liked what I did. And then I was not happy with the team. And I think I carried that to the interviews. So it took me a year to move out of that group because I think my spirit kind of translated the fact that I wasn't in a very nice role. So that was nice. And at the end of it, the way I solve it, there are 2 ways to solve it. Either you move or your manager moves. Because sometimes when that happens, it is the responsibility for the manager to control those things. It is the responsibility for the manager it's not to be nice, but then that team, we also had the problem that a lot of people had a lot more T&E budget than others. I was the lucky one that had it, but I always thought it was unfair that other people could not go in a 1-hour flight because there was not $500 to buy the ticket, and someone else, it wasn't me in that case, literally missed a training that was happening on campus. There was a training in Paris the following month, and she took the training in Paris. And everyone was like, if the training was available here at no T&E cost at all, why? So at the end of the day is to solve it. It's either you move or the manager moves, because it is the way I see it. A lot of times it is the responsibility for the manager to make sure everyone is having their fair opportunities and development, and you're spending time equal. Microsoft, it's mandatory, like we need to meet with managers weekly for 30 minutes. Bi-weekly for 30 minutes. With my manager, I have weekly half an hour. Sometimes she cancels, but then we have it weekly. And then some of the complaints sometimes I hear people saying is that they don't meet with their managers at all. Like they meet every 2 months. And then you don't know what, am I performing well, not? So a lot of what I see is the responsibility of the manager to make sure that it is a healthy environment for everyone that is working. So either you move or you hope for the manager to move to another position.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I see a question on the Zoom.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, obviously you've been in a very big tech company for pretty much your whole career. And so I was just wondering how, obviously being a woman in tech, is a very unique experience. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit more about your experience being a woman in tech and how, that has kind of driven your career forward.
It is unique. The IT industry is very male, uh, mostly in the development areas, the technical side of it. It's very male. I never faced any challenge, either being woman and being Latina. I never had any. I had once someone making fun of my accent, and she forgot that the mic was on, and I heard it. That was the only time that I heard something. Because I have been in education in half of my career, education is more leveled in between. There's a lot of women in education. Like you go, a lot of what I do in developing skilling plans for large corporations, it sits with HR, which is, in a lot of cases, there is a lot of women there. What I found it nicely in the last 10 years, there has been a lot of support and a lot of women that are mentoring girls in tech. So there is a lot of things that happened in the last 10 years in supporting more women in technology. So there has been, it wasn't like this in the beginning, but like 10 years ago, it started, and it's a big thing. A lot of supporting, like at least Microsoft has a lot of supporting in the industry. I work with small and medium-sized companies as well that are kind of the partner and reseller network for Microsoft, because we are a big company, but we do a lot of things through partners and not directly. And has been a lot of movements happening in supporting women in tech, and also supporting. Microsoft has a big thing for diversity that has grown tremendously in the last years. That is every diversity and inclusion. So we have internal groups for Latinos, for Black people, for Asian people. There is a lot happening and a lot of support. And Microsoft has been quite doing well in that. But yeah, I heard the comment on my accent, and I did had another one. I dress very colorful. And I had once one manager telling me that I should dress more conservative, like blazers and shirts and all this. And I was like, oh, I remember I went to the mall with my husband and I got like 3 blazers. I never wore it. But when she said it, and she said it with the best of intention, because she was like, my career has developed better when I start dressing more conservative, but it wasn't me. And later on, I felt that it was an incorrect comment, because that's what I tell my kids, like, you cannot be with dirty clothes. Like I was like, you dress the way you want it, plain clothes always. And I always tell them, I was like, nothing aggressive being written inside the house, whatever, but like nothing aggressive. We were in London for the holidays, and there was someone walking the street. I can't remember what was it, but even my kids look at it, I was like, yeah, that's not to be done. Like, you don't need to be aggressive with other people. And he had something on the t-shirt, on the back of the t-shirt. But it was, I mean, I think it's a good industry for women, and it has been very open-minded in welcoming more women in the industry.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Any other questions? Yeah, we have one over there.
So can you speak kind of like specifically to how Microsoft has grown as a company since you've been there, and what you've done to grow with the company?
Yes. One I mentioned, like 30 years ago, we had nothing on the gaming industry. So that has been is one side of the company that is gigantic into acquisition of ActionSoft. So the game industry has been big. At the beginning, Microsoft, it was very Windows and Office, right? It was PC based, And, the topic was one computer in every desk. And then obviously the computer had to have a Windows interface and Office. We start moving into selling, like as companies and the cost of servers became lower and companies started to invest in having servers, then the whole business shifted to, supporting businesses and licensing the business that then we needed to sell database, and we need to sell the big softwares for email. And that was a big market that we focused on. Later, it has been a lot of what we call consumption. So I don't even know if you guys have Office at your home computer, but like if Office costs $300, it didn't matter if you were using 5% or 50%, you had to pay that. The biggest challenge in the entire industry now is that it is by consumption. So you only pay what you're using. So it shifted completely, because if you take Chase Bank with 80,000 employees, everyone had their computer, we were selling 80,000 Windows, 80,000 Office license. Now we only bill for what they use. So it has been completely different, the mentality into even how employees need to be trained and capable and skilled to support the customer in that sense. And now has been a lot of cloud, the challenges that cloud has in terms of trust and security, and now AI. So how to use AI, and a lot of what Microsoft is talking is, AI cannot be the bad movie that AI kind of controls the world, and we are just become puppets in the hand of so there's a lot of conversations into building policies and helping policymakers into how this should be done in terms of a data in a secure way. So it has changed completely in the last 2 years with the entire AI business and the push that companies need to put their data in the cloud. And how this is done, I always say, like the Microsoft from the past, if we had a data breach for a bank, probably the IT director would get fired. Now, if you have a data break on the same bank, all the board and the C-level and the president gets fired, because the technology is not like isolated, it's part of how companies are running their business. And we have seen some shocking things happening, but it's very different. Like the company has changed a lot. And one true thing about Microsoft, apart from AI, every single other business, we never started as leader. If you take gaming, PlayStation was the main player. If you take the browser, or it wasn't Bing, it was Google. If you take the email back then, it was Lotus and it was an exchange. So we were never, apart from AI, it is the first time that we are also leading with the product and not being the second runner up. Then we took leadership, but then we didn't start a lot of the other business as market leaders.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
I think we're right on time. I want to thank you very much, Lou, for your time,
Thank you.
for giving this talk. And I'll see you over summer.
Yes, I'll see you in December in Seattle.
Yeah. So,
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Matheus, for the invitation again.